On behalf of the Art Summit team, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the first Art Summit. I'm really proud of what we've created there. We do hope that it will light a fire in you and that you will leave with some seed.
And so here we are, this is the first summit, or the first edition of the Art Summit. And it's a summit that challenges us to envision the future of art, artists, or the artist as the nucleus. The convener is the ever hardworking and forward-looking Denrele Shonariwo. And she says that the summit has set for itself the task of reimagining the Nigerian art scene. So everything we see, every piece of art, every bit of technology, every architectural achievement, the iconic bridges and all of that, first existed in the imagination of someone somewhere. The tide is rising for Nigerian creatives. So what do we do at a time like this? I think that we must reflect, as this summit calls us to do, but we must also deal with the complex issues of putting in place the infrastructure for enabling the creative industry function effectively, now and especially in the future.
Africa has become a very vibrant environment for art and has been supporting its own artists and nurturing an environment where artists have been able to thrive. I recall playing a lot with the red clay because Nsukka is known for the red earth. For me, I always look at the environment as an inspiration. In my opinion, art by Africans should not just be limited to Afrocentric sensibilities. It should be open to and embracing of all facets of life. It should enrich, inform, and challenge our global perspectives. Being an artist is an expensive ordeal because you have to spend a lot of money buying materials. That's the reason why I maybe started using more found and discarded materials, because they were easy to access.
One of the things going for the Nigerian art scene is its strong tradition of entrepreneurship.
But I think this is due to a vacuum created by the lack of infrastructure, which has pushed artists to become entrepreneurs, and they source for funding by themselves. They organize events, they own galleries, they run biennales.
I don't necessarily think that, I don't want to indict the government. Of course, the government has a bigger role to play. If you think about the activities of Onabolu at the turn of the 20th century, and think about the other activities, it tells you that they never relied on the government for anything to happen. That it's they, on their own, took out the initiative to create the not so enabling environment, but to make things to happen in that context. And I see that in part as part of the typical Nigerian spirit.
Fast forward to 2016 when I had my first installation, which is called the prayer room. So when I'm working on things like this, on some of my major installations, I transport myself back to my village, because if you do not know where you are coming from, there is a likelihood that you won't know where you are going.
It's necessary for artists, curators, art entrepreneurs, collectors, appreciators to start having a conversation, like have a meaningful conversation, a gathering of like-minded people, and also those that may not understand what is happening in the art scene.
Can we have another form of patronage rather than a collector having to just buy the works and then giving the artist the money?
Patronage should be seen from three major angles. Those who purchase the art, those who promote the art, and those who sponsor the art.
On behalf of Union Bank, I'd like to say thank you for joining us this morning, and in particular, thank you for an opportunity to make a difference.
I was in Ibadan for a whole year, and during that time, I met this woman who eventually became my muse, and she was sort of just gliding through the middle of the highway and just walking regally, and she was wearing this patterned fabric. It was a blue fabric with diamond patterns. And I said to myself, this is extraordinary. I really didn't understand like how she was so confidently moving in the middle of the road with cars passing unfazed. It didn't take me long from there to realize that she was mentally ill. And it was sort of in her that all my ideas about painting emotional distress and sort of figuring out how to translate emotions into painting, that's where it all sort of found form.
There's a sense of having to find your voice in the process, and I wanted to know what those moments were like.
I needed to find a new language to express what I was experiencing in Nigeria, and so I needed to evolve. And so I opened myself up to that evolution. Lots of paintings failed, so I'm just showing you the ones that I think succeeded. But so it was a difficult time, and it was a difficult transition, but I've reached some sort of soft landing, so we'll see how it goes.
The portraits that I created were mostly black and brown men of my age. Let me be honest. Let me be 100% honest. I was creating self-portraiture. I was looking at other people, but I was trying to get to something.
It was self-reflexive.
It was more about scratching some sort of itch. And the itch was about things that I did not see in museums and in galleries growing up.
It's also good to be surrounded by so many young artists here in Nigeria, to be able to walk through this space and to see people who are also interested in creating their own stories and creating their own work, and knowing that what I've been working on for the last few years is in relationship to a whole group of people who have voices that are just as important.
So he makes you buy the painting for what you want to see, but he has put what he wants to tell you in it.
And in terms of collecting, is there a strategy to it? Like, I mean, would you say there's an ideal collection?
Well, I wouldn't say there's an ideal collection. Any collection actually reflects the personality of the collector. As an artist, you need to see yourself not just as somebody who can draw, but also as a crusader.
Yes.
For the times, for the events that are happening in those times that you're living.
Yes.
Okay, so are you going to, even if you're going to do mother and child, how deep do you want to take it?
As an artist, I fund all my projects independently, no matter how young or no matter how small that we think we are, that when we are interested in something and through research and negotiations, we can always make it happen.
You don't mention memory, and I'm very interested in how memory forms a part of this work.
Yeah, I think that the memory is somehow already embodied within the objects in themselves. People always wondered, why are you collecting this old sack? What are you going to use it for? But the antagonism I felt was really necessary. The lack of understanding, also the improvisation and all that, it somehow shaped my collective understanding, even of how I was approaching my own work.
We all know that Tutu did fetch that remarkable price earlier this year of, in dollars, about 1.5 million. And I think I'll ask you first, Oliver. I mean, was that a good thing? And what are the beneficial effects you think of that?
Yes, it was a good thing. It's always a good thing when an artist commands high fees for his work.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, Neil, I'll ask you. It was a remarkable result. Do you think it represented the market as it was, the market strength, or was it just a spike?
I think it's probably a combination of both. The fact that somebody, or at least two people, were willing to bid up to that amount shows that there is a market.
Right now, works are judged by their own merit, so it doesn't matter where you're from. But I think that you must be able to see the identity of that artist still in his work. In as much as he may be embracing, newer means of expression like video and photography, but you must see something that resonates with the African continent. For me, that's what makes it African.